My name is Raíssa. I'm Shine Hub coordinator. I work at the UN Trust Fund to end violence against women and girls. And to start a little bit, before talking about Shine itself, I'm going to talk about the UN Trust Fund. So the UN Trust Fund is the only global grant-making mechanism dedicated fully to eradicate all forms of violence against women and girls. And beyond grant-making, our work is also about supporting social movements and endorse networking. And that's where Shine comes in. So Shine is this online hub for global knowledge exchange on ending violence against women and girls. We combine virtual exchange hub, a convening platform, and multilingual tools. A few of the tools that were already described by other speeches today on one of the features of Open Social. But what is important about Shine is that we are a multi-stakeholder platform. So we have NGOs, women's rights organizations, and partners that get together in safe spaces to work on co-creating, collaborating, and amplifying practice-based knowledge. And practice-based knowledge seems a little bit vague sometimes when we talk about it, but we are talking about the knowledge on the ground. And Shine is different in that way because we focus on practitioners. Practitioners are in the center of our knowledge exchange. So we are moving away from a bottom-up, from a top-down way of creating knowledge to decentralizing knowledge management and how we think about knowledge. I already talked about the UN Trust Fund, and the UN Trust Fund really answers to demand-driven requests by the CSOs and the NGOs that we work with. Here we have a screenshot of the multiple languages that we have available due to the Google Translate plugin. That's really a big sell for Shine. That's how we managed to get so many partners and users on the platform so far. But when it comes to knowledge, to practice-based knowledge, we have a few challenges. And maybe you'd like to try to guess, what are the main challenges of practice-based knowledge when you work with practice-based knowledge? Yeah, maybe that. People don't actually know, they don't really think that what they do, that tacit knowledge is actual knowledge. And sometimes it's very hard to systematize this knowledge. And here we have, for example, the UN Trust Fund co-creation, let's say, diagram. It could be a circle, it could be cyclical, but for practical reasons, it's here displayed as an arrow. And you can see that it goes from conception, inception, peer review, production, and dissemination of different types of knowledge. This can be different depending on what we are talking about, if it's a booklet or a podcast. And you can also see that Shine is a tool used throughout the process alongside other tools. So for example, in conception, you could have the use of Shine, but you could also have a concept note, a terms of reference, or in Inception, we could have a focus group discussion, interviews, meetings, reports, or even the use of Shine. And just for a little bit of exemplification of what I mean, I'm going to show you a few of our knowledge products that were released last year that we use Shine. And we had, as an example, we have here 2 knowledge products of a series of 3 knowledge products that were focused on ending violence against women and girls with disabilities. The first knowledge product is at the very end of the slide. It's called They Call Me By My Name. And we released this knowledge product on Shine in a form of consultation. And it was great to collect feedback about what the whole research. But what was very insightful is that everything that we collected as a feedback on these knowledge product was then used as inception to the second knowledge product, which is the addressing violence against women and girls with disabilities. So here we see how knowledge is actually cyclical, right? How one thing not led to just simply feedback that's, stayed on our table, on our desk, but it became a new knowledge product. And more recently, we had our most successful discussion board on organization resilience. We had over 100 comments, and I don't remember how many people contributed on that discussion, but it was key as inception for a knowledge product that we are producing right now, and it's going to be finalized this year. And more recently, we are using the discussion, our longest discussion on practice-based knowledge to develop a workshop on SVRI forum. The SVRI forum is the Sexual Violence Research Institute forum. It's one of the largest forums in the field. And it's very interesting to see how this discussion board it was one of the first discussion boards that started over 2 years ago, is now being used to, create this workshop that will be part of a new knowledge co-creation process. And here comes the aspects of, when you work with on ending violence against women and girls, it's a very sensitive topic. So we do have to ensure that we have enough, measures in terms of safety, and that we are okay in terms of ethics as well. And our three main pillars are transparency, risks and breaches, so preventing risks and breaches, and creating safe spaces. When it comes to transparency, we are very glad that Open Social has so many features that we could apply to our platform, that it follows the EU General Data Protection Regulation, and that we have our data protection notice and policy. So let's say uptight in terms of making this environment safe for people, that they know what the type of data they are volunteering for and start right upon the registration, that they have a cookie pop-up notification that they can agree to, and that anytime they can email us in case they are concerned about the type of data they are volunteering to us. This is very important for us because we are fully aware that some of our users work from humanitarian settings. So we always need to understand and meet people kind of halfway as well. We also have a good code of conduct that we are always updating. And when we talk about violence against women and girls, some of these violations may happen more often than people imagine, like the release and display of pictures that have scenes of violence or signs of violence, like bruises. And then you may think that, this person that does that may be, just banished from the community. But we also have to bear in mind that this is one of the key strategies that a lot of CSOs use for sensibilization. So our way to talk to these or to educate people to how to use Shine for its best is to refrain to do those strategies and to take more ethical strategies per our code of conduct. So we usually do not banish people from the community, but we just, remove the content that violated the terms and then tell them, hey, please don't do this, do this way instead. We usually also advise them. We also recommend people to not volunteering their personal data on Shine, but we also have to understand the part of this personal data, like their WhatsApp contact, is also work related. It's how they will network, it's how they will expand the network. And also we always flag that they have to have consent for sharing pictures in general, right? And in terms of creating safe spaces, we have ensured this with our partners as well through training. And I'm glad to say that I myself, I was trained by Spark Blue team, and they were really, really important reference to us. And now we have also specialized a little bit further because we work in with a very sensitive topic. We also developed a start guide, and now we are finding new ways to see how people can internalize those measures in creating safe spaces. Yeah. And here are a few numbers that I have to say I'm really excited about. We now have over 2,300 users, and we are only like 2 years old in terms of a community. We have already 7 discussion boards and consultations. We had last year over 259 comments, 127 posts by community members. So these are not conducted by, managers. These was users themselves, taking the leadership, engaging with each other, and also engaging, putting their own posts online and taking the lead. We had 60 community contributions in a single open discussion, which is a lot of quality engagement, and this is just amazing for us. And we had been accessed from over 107 countries last month. This is just last month, and when we think throughout the 2023, it was over 170 countries, which is also insane. Yeah, and looking forward, in terms of user experience, we are currently testing the app that we have with Open Social, and it's going to be officially launched in the next quarter. We are doing an UAT, so a user acceptability testing. We did it internally. We're now doing with our most active users just to test it out and see how we're doing. We're going to also review the sitemap just to revamp Shine. And now we understand that we need to change the way to communicate with our users because a website browser looks different from an app, right? And in terms of accessibility, we are now democratizing this space and see different projects on how to do so. We have a service package that was developed to our UN partners and how they can use the space to create their own activities and their own groups. And now we're thinking of new ways how we can adapt this type of service package to, CSOs that may not have the same resources that UN agencies, and how they can access those the platform and how they can use the platform as well. So we are at this stage of collecting data from them and see, how we can shape this partnership for them. Yeah, and we are also investigating other forms to support and boost our user-led initiatives. And that's all. And I'm glad that you guys stayed to the very end of this presentation. And I wonder, because I've been learning a lot from you today, so thank you very much. And I wonder what guys have you learned from my presentation as well. So thank you.
Questions or sharing what you've learned, either or. Taco, if you can please.
Thanks. So I saw that you're taking the publication almost offline and then putting it back as a knowledge product. Do you think there's anything from Open Social side we could help to create these knowledge products, or some ideas around that perhaps? Because I really like the end result and it shares it easily, I guess. So.
Yeah, maybe thinking about the booklet that you're still developing about the community, because one of the main insights that we got of our most successful discussion board is how to structure that. Because if we think only about the feature and how the feature operates, we had all the discussion boards before, but we realized it felt a lot like homework. For a lot of people, you get in and then you have these, maybe a PDF or a long text just explaining the topic, and you have maybe 3 or 4 questions, which is a lot for people. People don't have this time. So what we learned a lot from that discussion was having a main question and then building up conversation is way more wise. So I'm not telling people should not have multiple questions planned. I think you should, but this is for your internal team. And then when you advance throughout the conversation, you use these, questions out of your pocket, adapt those questions to the audience, and then follow-up conversation. It feels more natural, and we realize we collect way more qualitative information from our users that way. And I think that's one of the main things, but also how we share content from open social, so from Shine to Instagram and other social media. I think this still not visually appealing sometimes, the way that it's shared. I don't know, but that's all I can remember. Huh?
The share button.
The share button. Yeah, the share button. It's just sometimes it works, sometimes that's all.
Thank you. Any more questions? Yes.
Yeah, I think thanks for the presentation, and you showed how important it is to also teach people about their digital appearance, I guess, especially if it's around sensitive topics. I think we've seen that also in the past for clients, that it's sometimes quite an important and difficult balance to find for anonymity versus engagement, right? Because I think core aspect of a community is that you know to whom you talk and who the other persons are. So good to see that you find a balance there that works for you. Do you think there are still things that you can that could be improved in the product or in your process around that, or also that that would help you to secure people's privacy better?
Yeah, that's a good question. Because when you were talking, I really thought about the organization tag. Because for us, we'd like to have a way to show where people come from in terms of their affiliation, not only for ourselves as managers, because I know that the organization tag basically is for internal use, but to external use as well. So people could see where these people come from or where they're associated with. Because what happens a lot is that sometimes people refrain to do their own personal profile and they do institutional profile instead. That's actually an action that we recommend to users when, especially if they work in humanitarian settings, is that instead of having, their profile with their name, if possible, make an organization profile. But the ideal would be if they could just affiliate themselves to an institution in the whole profile, and then people would see, oh no, this person works at United Nations, or this person works at Raising Voices, and this kind of back up the credibility of that person. And that's, I think, the issue that we have right now. We have so many civil society organizations, and my main challenge now is to get to know who are these people in terms of, are these actual organizations or is just a fake account? And at the speed that we grow, which is 1,000 users a year, it's impossible for me to, assess each profile. So I think maybe that the organization tag, I would appreciate that.
Thank you. Building up on the impossible to assess each single profile and considering the target group, which is might be composed also by vulnerable adults. How do you ensure safeguarding? It's something that, we are a woman organization, young women, we control people one by one. So
So what we do is actually act by recommendations, and we do not really have. We just advise them like, hey, you're making this profile. You're gonna try to create the safest space possible, but any information that you share here is going to be available to the entire community. So, for example, if this person is in a vulnerable situation at that moment, we would advise to not make a full profile, or just not make a full profile with all your information. And that's why it's actually very common to have organization profiles instead of personal ones. And we did not have any case like similar to this. And I think it's because of what the type of public that we attract are usually professionals, so practitioners, people that work in the field. So they kind of already have this knowledge. And more than this, they kind of already have their own networks to kind of back up themselves. So I think that's it. And that's very interesting that once they join Shine, they kind of bring those networks as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Raíssa.